What's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another player interview. The event coverage does not stop, so EU, please love me. Please don't hate me. All right, but we're here with Blaine Perry. He played at the European Championships. How you doing tonight, Blaine?
I'm not too bad, man. Pretty good.
Awesome. So how did you perform this past weekend?
I did all right. I went 5-1-1. And then I had to drop at the top 16 because of family commitments. It ran a bit later than expected, which was a shame, but you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I'm sure you had just as much of a chance to win it all as the other Janemba player, because that deck obviously is so dominating in the metagame. And yeah, I mean, great deck to pick. Why did you decide to play this deck?
Well, I'd started a set 5 on Janemba pretty much straight away, so I was pretty much testing it since I think the set came out for us in mid-December-ish.
Yeah, so
I've been playing it since then, and each week tweaking it, changing it, you know. And then about 2 weeks before the event, I settled on the list I had and just hammered that out because it just seemed, you know, Bandai keeps supplying us with bullets, don't we? So I thought I'd try a bullet build pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, this is the perfect deck to fit all those types of silver bullets. And I wish I had that type of, like, I don't know, dedication or anything like that, because this Vegas event is this coming weekend, and I still don't know what I'm playing. So I wish I was like you and knew what I was playing 2 months ahead of time, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, we'll get into the main deck. So Janemba leader, mill your opponent out, the cheese. Do you feel like you enjoy the defend the castle type of strategy?
I'm one of two people when I build a deck. I'm either all in aggro or pretty much full on defensive lock. I enjoy both sides of it.
Fair enough.
Main thing I tend to struggle with is, you know, finding that middle ground deck.
Gotcha. And here's a question. So this is like obviously a super dominating force in the format. When you're the Janemba player, what do you sit down across, or what happens in the game that actually makes you afraid? Because it almost feels like this deck is untouchable. It's like, I'm not trying to say it's tier 0, anything like that. It just feels like sometimes it's so hard to push damage through on Janemba. So what are the things that you sit across that actually make you a little bit afraid?
Well, my biggest fear, to be honest, going into this event, probably Shenron hand control, which I tested quite a bit against, and I'd not lost against in testing, but that's thanks to it all cost Vegeta, to be honest. But you can easily lose against Shenron hand control if they get that dream of, you know, the 3-1 star balls going off and the Dragon Radar to do it again.
Right, because
you sort of sat there at that point with nothing that you can do.
Right.
But I think there's a few decks in the meta like that, though, you know, where if they get that dream hand, there are the situations where you've just got to sit there and look at the train wreck.
Yeah, kind of. That's the one thing about this game, is that there's a lot of like 90-10 matchups, which is kind of unfortunate, but I mean, I think that's a little bit more accentuated in this game than other games. But I mean, hopefully, as you know, new cards come out, more sets come out, and more answers come out, hopefully that starts to change a little bit. But
I think my only other fear going into it was the mirror.
Really, yeah, that mirror is not super fun.
But I had 3 matchups against the mirror at the event. The main advantage I had was that I tested the mirror heavily, and when I was speaking to the players that I played against, none of them had tested the mirror much. So
yeah, there's a key thing that you're supposed to do in the mirror match, which I think we'll talk about once we get a little bit into the list. But we'll get into the main deck. So 2 Dende, this is just for like Shenron decks and objection decks. How did this card perform for you?
Dende did nothing for me at the event. I expected a lot more Shenron decks. I didn't come across a single one in my matchup, so sadly Dende got side in most events.
Yeah, I think it was a great pick in the main deck though.
One, draw one.
Yeah, I think it was a good main deck pick though. But actually, I was doing an interview with another player, and they said that EU tends to typically try and play anti-meta rather than meta. Can you speak any truth to that?
A lot of people do. I think that's why there was a fair bit of hand control at our event over Shenron Gogeta. Because people had heard there was going to be a larger number, I think.
Right.
There, so.
Yeah, it's interesting though how there's only one one Shenron hand control in Top Cut. It's interesting how only one made it.
Was it one hand control and one Gogeta?
It was one hand control, one maidens.
Oh, amazing!
And I'm blanking on the third one, but it was not Gogeta. There was no Shenron Gogeta in Top Cut. I'm blanking on what the third version was, but yeah, it was not Gogeta.
Oh.
So interestingly enough, you would think more of Shenron hand controls would have made it in top cut, but I guess they must have faced their bad matchups. And then the 2 Dark Power Black Mass Sand. So a lot of times I feel like this is the Kami slot. So why did you decide to play Dark Power Black Mass Sand and no Kami or Cronoa in the main deck?
I went for the Dark Power Mass Saiyan just because I used him in aggro for the mirror matches.
Mm.
So it provided there. Then a lot of people in a mirror match would side the Gohans in to replace the cells or the Gokus. So again, it creates pressure there on them losing cards in. It gives me the option to self-awaken if I'm in an awkward position where I could do with an extra energy for my turn. And there's a lot of red going about with chain attack, which at one point I locked an opponent, Yamcha opponent out from chaining me because I'd got both my Saiyans out and just aggroed him.
Fair enough. That's pretty dirty. And now it sounds like you're saying you try to aggro the mirror match instead of mill them out. Is that your game plan in the mirror match?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, it's both. In both games, well, I had 3 mirrors, and game 1 I'd aggro them out because my board is not equipped to mill. I'm pretty sure you'd agree if you look at it, it's not equipped to win a mirror on a mill.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, only 2 Childish Heart, no Psyche Demons. Or you got Psyche Demon in the sideboard, yeah.
Yeah, so what happens is in game 1, I aggroed them and killed them, and then they expect that in game 2, and that's when I side into my Sakis and my Childish Heart and mill them out.
I like that a lot, actually. I was actually talking to one of my patrons about, like, playing this like a Janemba deck at Vegas coming up, and we were talking about, well, maybe you could just side deck Psyche because it's so good in the mirror match. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and a lot of the opponents then in game 2 were expecting me to aggro them again, so they play a lot more defensively.
Definitely.
And then it's about turn 3 or 4 when they realise that I'm actually focused on the mill at that instead.
That's pretty cool when you have a caliber player like that could just mind game the opponent. That's pretty awesome. And then 2 peel off. So with not seeing a lot of Shenron, was this card still good?
I came across a Broly GT.
I'm sure it's great there.
He saved me in one of them, thankfully.
Awesome. And then 4 Borgos. So besides being just like a come down draw one, how good do you think this card was all day?
It helped in the mirror.
Really?
For the early turns, but then obviously I'd combo him away on usually turn 3 so that I'm not just providing the opponent with a pay 1 reality vendor.
Right, fair enough. So how do you feel like it helps in the mirror match? Do you feel like people try and go offensively with Senzu Bean or what?
A lot of the players try and expand from the mirrors I encountered, they'd expand the turns with the beans.
Mm-hmm.
So they'd play out like, say, Demon Sword, then awaken to untap 2, and then swing with lead to try and get, like that high, or even Childish Heart Janemba, they'd play that out, swing, combo a bean, untap 1, then Demon Sword, then swing with lead, bean to be able to do Demon Sword or get that next Childish Heart out.
Fair enough.
So
trying to get those extra mills.
Yeah, just slows them down there a bit. It's worth sacrificing 1 card in your deck just to put a bit of Borgos pressure out.
Gotcha. So then we have the 4-dimension magic, the 2 striving. This is a lot of people think this is a side deck card. So why did you decide to main deck it?
I main deck striving because I know a lot of people were looking at Broly swap, veggie swap. Well, not veggie swap. Sorry, Broly veggies.
Right.
There was quite a bit of red going about. And honestly, against red, I've found if you can get Goku down on turn 2, and then you can get your Vegeta out on turn 4, and usually you've pretty much locked them out.
Against red being like Frieza swap or red like baby?
Red, more red like the pans and Yamchas that you've been getting going around.
Gotcha.
Especially against that 2-drop Yamcha that searches for an Earthling.
Yeah, that card's
top 3.
I heard that card's pretty good.
It shuts down their draw power. I came across a Yamcha deck and they took game 1 because, as you can see, I run a lot of 2-obs in my deck, so sometimes it does brick. So they took me out in that game, and then the next 2 games, so I got the Goku off, and then I got the Vegeta off, and you can just lock them out.
Gotcha. Two Mafuba, 4 Super Combo, only 2 Challenge Heart in the main deck. So a lot of people when they take a stab at Janemba, it's like either Psyche Demon all the way or Challenge Heart all the way. No combination of both usually in the main deck. But you only played 2 Challenge Hearts, so talk about why you decided that and like no Psyche Demon.
It's just space more than anything, and I went for the 2 Childish Heart just because sometimes if there wasn't anything, a lot of the time I baited my opponent into swinging at me by turn 3 playing a Childish Heart and then passing untap to then, make use of the Dimension Magic to self-awaken myself and untap energy that way. So he was there then for the turn 4 to be able to search for a Demon Sword to make sure I can warp and clear the field a bit against a lot of decks. And I just didn't have room for Sakis in the main board, obviously.
Fair enough. Then we got the 4 Demon Sword, 3 Reality Bender. That's pretty good. That's pretty well equipped for the mirror match. Then we had 2 at all costs, and I'll skip over it to right now, the Further Instruction Champas. So these are cards that, you might see one or the other in a Janemba deck. A lot of times not both, except like I saw this in... I saw both of these in Janemba decks when Unyielding was at 4. But now that Unyielding's not at 4, I feel like people kind of usually skip out on at all cost Vegeta, but they don't want to be as aggressive. But how did these 2 aggressive cards perform for you all day? And like what matchups are you looking to actually kill them by putting them to 0 rather than milling them out?
Well, I'd have to say out of the whole of my deck, Champa was probably the MVP of the day.
I can see that for sure.
And I won one of the mirrors by actually playing out at all costs to untap 1 energy to then swing and drop the Champa on him.
Oh, you didn't even grab the Triple Strike?
No, I was at 1 life.
Gotcha.
But both of them, it's just, I thought it was pretty valuable to have just more than the 1 win con via life in there.
Mm-hmm.
At all costs also helped me in a few matchups where I was like, right, I've held my life at like 5 or 6 for too long. I need to awaken. So it was pretty handy to play at all costs and take the 2. And one of the main reasons I've got all costs in there is because when I was testing, even though I didn't come across it in Euros, was it's a very good card to get your hand back against Shenron Hand Destruction.
Right, start taking from the life. Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, so that you can play him out, draw a card, then take 2 cards from life, and go back up to a hand, and then have a beater to apply pressure to them.
Nice.
Which it did a couple of times for me in test.
Sounds solid. Then we have 3 Awe-Inspiring Vegito. So the more Janemba decks I see, the more they're actually starting to cut this card. Maybe down to 2, or maybe just not play it at all. So talk about, like, do you feel like your deck, like, you really want to hit Vegito on 4, or what?
Yeah, most of the time I played him out at 4. I didn't even use him for the draw. I used him pretty similar to how I used Childish Heart Janemba on turn 3. Right. Play him out, tap out, and then use the Dimension Magic on the turn with the Sparking to get the Awakening, and then defend him that way to defend.
Gotcha. Then we got the Villainy Cells and the Unbreakable, standard stuff. We'll go over to the side deck. So 2 Cronoa, just Broly stuff. 3 Crisis Crusher. This is actually a card that I'm surprised Janemba doesn't play in the main deck. So can you talk about how this card did for you all day?
I mainly used Crisis Crusher as a sideboard option along with Misaki's for the mirrors, because a lot of players still throw out the Saki on turn 1.
Right.
So helps me a lot slow them down on the mill, because obviously it prevents them then evolving on turn 2 to a Childish Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And he was another alternative to Son Goku striving to be the best against the red decks, just to get rid of the Trunkses, the 1-drop pressures they put out.
Right.
So he got sided in a few times.
And then question, did you ever wish you had more strivings in the sideboard or no?
Yeah, against the pan I lost to in round 3, because both games I didn't see striving at all.
Would have been a little helpful. Yeah, that's one of the things about Janemba. Yeah, it doesn't draw, like, it draws a lot in the late game, but not so much in the early game. So it's kind of tough when you're not seeing the cards you want to see. And then Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it was rough.
Yeah, I agree. Then Psyche and Childish Heart, good mirror match sideboard. 2 Yajirobe. What did you want this in against?
The Yajirobes were mainly there for Shenron Gojitas.
The matchup that no one played against.
Yeah, I also put them in for red again. It was another red option.
Fair enough. It seems good against Pan, but maybe not so good against like Baby. Did you ever play against the Baby deck?
I tested against it.
How was that matchup?
When I tested against it felt like an equal split. It was sort of on whoever got to where they wanted to get first, you know, on a lock. Just because once they've got a Pockle Great Ape out, that's when it weren't too bad for my deck because I've got a lot of 1-drops. So it's just the case of, you know, throwing that 1-drop out to
bait it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And playing around it that way.
Gotcha.
But you just got to count on having the negates.
Gotcha. And then 3 Objection. That's a really interesting one that I don't see in a lot of Janemba lists. Why did you sideboard this card?
The Objection, again, I use in the mirror.
Wow. A lot of sideboard for the mirror, huh?
Yeah, the mirror was my biggest fear, to be honest. And a lot of it does get shot in on the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
It pretty much changes like shot of half my deck, I suppose.
So you wanted to just be able to get to those mills faster than your opponent, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Game 1 I had to get via the kill, and then game 2 just going for the mirror. It's the Objections as well. I found out for when testing in Shenron matches.
Right.
Just because obviously if you're not getting that defensive power and you know you're going to get Gogeta anyway,
might as well use the hand.
Going to drop massively, so you might as well get the energies out to get the Gogeta on board faster.
Gotcha. And then the one Mafuba. So I'm sure this came in against big boss monster strategies, but did you ever catch a mirror match where he swung with the Janemba and you actually were able to Mafuba it?
Yeah, 2 players did that against me, which is again massively helpful because if they do that, especially with a demon sword, it means that it puts a card on their board for your turn to be able to play out your reality benders for one.
Yeah, that definitely shows they were not testing the mirror match. Definitely.
Yeah. Sometimes though, I think it's more, you know, when it's the psychology again, when there's pressure on the opponent and they're feeling like, right, at this point I've got to pressure their life. So does he have a Mafuba? You know.
Yeah, it's always the case.
Sometimes you've got to play the bluff game, haven't you?
Yeah, no, that's one of the biggest skills of card games that I feel like people need to delve into more, and it's definitely one of the things that can take you from a top player to like, you know, a mediocre player is, you know, mind gaming the opponent, you know, smoke screening into different things, like kind of like this deck does. You smoke screen into like a crazy mirror match deck, which is really cool. But that's gonna look like the entire main deck. So, any thoughts on the tournament you want to give?
Overall, I thought the tournament was great. There was a lot of good players. For a first event, it ran really smooth as well. There weren't really many bad comments about it, really.
Yeah, no, I keep hearing that the tournament was running very smoothly.
Yeah, it was. It just ran a bit behind, like most tournaments you'd expect.
Yeah, no, I was very surprised when I heard that there was no day 2.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it weren't Tournament Centre's fault, but more like Bandai's. It just felt like we were calling out for tournament so much that they sort of just went, right, here's your tournament. It's one day. It's going to be 250 players, top 16.
If it was day 2, would you have been able to make the would you have been able to play out Top Cut?
Oh yeah, I would have made it down for the day 2.
Well, there's always next time.
Yeah.
Do you have any final shout outs you want to give?
Not off the top of my head, no. Just congratulations to everyone in top 16. Everyone who made it through.
Awesome.
Hopefully I'll see them all at the next event.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you're basically coming off of nationals, so, you know, take a long break. You earned it. Congratulations on your top 16. But guys, that's going to bring this video to an end. So thank you so much for Blaine for joining us tonight, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another vid. Hang on. This is the end card, not a... screw it. I'm going to play some Pokemon. See ya!